So Liz, we're standing in front of this important tall clock made by Benjamin Swan. He was an Augusta resident, and he was one of the clockmakers that taught his skill to other Maine clockmakers in the late 18th, early 19th century. Of course, Augusta is the capital of Maine, which makes this one really significant. Starting at the top of this clock, you'll see it has beautiful urn-shaped brass finials. Has a very unusual reticulated X pattern fretwork with fluted columns that the finials rest on. Coming down down from the top of the bonnet, which is the piece that covers the movement, you have these turned columns fitted with brass capitals. And inside is what makes this clock so interesting. This has a rocking ship, so when the pendulum is going, the ship goes back and forth, back and forth. You notice it has an American flag. Even though most of the dials were made in England, they were custom made for these clockmakers. When they got to America, this was hand lettered in ink, the clockmaker's name. The interesting part about this is that a lot of people try to wipe down the dials. When they do, they eradicate the name of the maker, which is terribly, very significant not to do. This one has cut steel hands, very interesting steel hands. It has what's called a second spit. So when this is tipping, this moves to the seconds. As the hands go down the thing to tell you the hour, it strikes on the hour and the half hour, I believe this one does. This is the winding hole for the time. This is the winding hole for the striking bell. You notice beautiful ornamentation in the corners and gold leaf. And that shows you the dial and how it works. As you move down through the bottom of the clock, you notice that it has, this is called the throat in here. It has fluted quarter columns with Corinthian capitals on this one. The brass fittings were usually made in England also, because in the 18th century there weren't many foundries in America. Has baluster form hinges. What's great about this one, it has a lovely heart inlaid in bird's eye maple in the center door of the throat. So when you want to get to the movement of the clock, you slide the bonnet off, like so. When you move the pendulum, it's hooked to the ship. You see how the ship moves? So when the pendulum's ticking back and forth, the ship moves the whole time for 8 days. This clock runs. As long as you keep it wound, that little ship will be going back and forth. It's interesting also how they cut out a special painted piece of steel to make it look like waves and attach to the dial with a painted scenic background. You'll notice in here, it has a finely made brass and steel movement with the bell. That's what it sounds like when the clock is running and it strikes. A lot of times they had, in the old days, they used a braided wire to hold the weights on. This one here has a specially woven cord to hold the weights when it's running. But a lovely movement on this one and should keep great time.